There's a common misconception that it's all downhill for women over a certain age and their best years are behind them, but the reality is anything but, as boomer women are embracing midlife and beyond. A new book is aiming to change the narrative around ageing, sharing wisdom from powerful women in their second act. Author of The Power Age, Kelly Doust, joins us now, along with nutrition scientist Dr. Joanna McMillan. Thank you both for coming in tonight. And Joanna, I know you are featured in the book.
Yes,
so we will hear...
A boomer woman, indeed.
Proud boomer woman. We'll hear more from you in a minute. But Kelly, I wanted to start with you. We are, as women, aren't we, bombarded with this the anti-ageing message, and we're given tips on how to ward off ageing. We're told it's a negative thing, getting older. But you say it's the power age. Is it the power age?
It is. I think that boomer women have really changed the whole script about what it is to be older. And the way that that's changed over the last 50, even 30 years is very dramatic. And so that's having such a knock-on effect in public life and with younger women. So I just wanted to celebrate that.
Mm. And you've profiled a number of impressive women in the book. How many are there exactly?
Oh,
you probably couldn't
dozens,
count. Yeah.
Dozens of women.
And beautiful illustrations as well, which we're going to see in a moment by wonderful illustrator Jessica Guthrie. What are the recurring themes that you noticed with these women? Because they're from all walks of life, aren't they?
I really noticed that people talked about resilience and self-esteem. Confidence was such a big thing, and really getting to a point where you don't care what people think anymore. That's always a good thing, isn't it, Joanna? Do you feel like that, Joanna? You don't care what people think?
Well, I do. I mean, I think it's interesting, if I speak just from a personal level for a second, it's interesting looking back at your decades and thinking how you felt in your 20s, how you feel in your 30s. And, of course, a big part of my work is dealing with body image and how women and men, but mostly women, are feeling about themselves. And one of the relieving things about being in your 40s is, I think it's a great time for your career. You can be taken more seriously, and there is less of a sort of pressure, I guess, on having to look a certain way.
So from a health perspective, what are some of the things women can do to be more active and be more engaged in life?
Well, I think that's one of the wonderful things today, is that we have so much more information about what impacts our ageing. And we know that, a key thing that I'm involved with is what we now term lifestyle medicine, and it includes things like eating really well, of course, which is my main area, but also exercising, managing your stress, getting enough sleep. And we know that those things have a major impact on the physicality, the physical changes that we get when we age, but also with our mental health. So if you manage to put those things into place and you do eat really well, you do manage those other things, we do stay active. For example, I'm really into strength training, is so important for women as we get older. Then those things actually help you to keep your confidence, but also help your body to age better.
One of the things you hear a lot about women, I guess it's they say about over 40, more like 50, they start to feel invisible, they start to feel overlooked. What would you say, Joanna, that women can do to ward that off and still stand out and embrace these?
Well, that to me does come down to that whole confidence issue and having good self-esteem, so that it becomes less about... I mean, in many ways, for me, the women that I meet who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s actually do have better self-esteem, because they have become more assertive about what they want. They are more empowered, they're well educated, they understand what they want to get out of life, whereas women in their 20s might still be struggling with some of those things. So that's what I really feel it comes down to, is being able to be true to yourself. And yes, there are challenges with understanding getting older, and your body might not work the same. I know that my recovery time after my exercise is longer than it used to be, and it's about starting to manage those changes, but understanding at the same time what are the benefits that we get from as we get older.
Kelly, I know that one of the recurring themes, we know this statistically with women over a certain age, is, sadly, if we're looking at the flip side, is loneliness, and in extreme cases, homelessness. I know that you've got tips in there with financial advice and to deal with loneliness. What did you find that women can do to look out for that in older age?
Well, I interviewed Maggie Beer, who was Senior Australian of the Year and obviously been working in food forever. She has been doing a lot of work in aged care homes and training cooks up to provide really nutritious food for people. She's done lots of charity work, and she said, do something for someone else and see how it makes you feel. So one thing is giving something back. There's a whole chapter I wrote called Pay It Forward, which is about charity and giving and being involved in your community. I also interviewed Helen Clark, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she said retirement's just not in the vocabulary for her and many other women who are continuing to really shape public life. But even for anyone with professional experience, you can do pro bono work, you can get involved in your community. There's a lot that can be done, and that really goes a long way to stopping people from feeling lonely.
In terms of the financial question, should we be saving money or should we be spending it for older age?
Well, we should definitely be saving it from any age if we can. Retirement savings have got to be a priority. You know, with the combined effects of the gender wage gap, women out of work supporting, looking after a family while they're not putting money away for super, and then divorce in midlife, it's just catastrophic. And that's why homelessness is really rising in the over 55 women. It's terrible. So anything that you can do to be putting money away is a good thing.
So where's that fine line between embracing life and enjoying life while you can, taking that trip, doing those things that you want to do and spending money? Where's the fine line there, do you think? What did women say about that?
Well, I think it really, the enjoyment that women were getting out of life was really not to do with how they were spending money. It was more about the quality of their relationships, how good their health was, first and foremost, and how fulfilled they felt by their career and the work they'd done or the families they'd raised. So I think, yes, travel I would like to have at a certain age, and certainly retirement looks very different for women depending on how all those things have gone. But yeah, it's really focusing on the quality of relationships because that's sort of what life is about, really.
Would you
and a
back that up,
sense of purpose, yeah, we certainly know that from scientific research. We see that people, men and women, going into retirement particularly, but throughout life, it is a sense of purpose that actually contributes to happiness. So I think it's very easy to get caught up on you need money to be happy, but of course you don't. We need a certain amount of money, of course, to be safe and have a roof over our heads. But it's actually that sense of purpose that gives a lot more. And when Kelly talks about those kinds of giving back things, those are the things that really reward us. And we see that very clearly in research. It also, as you were talking, it reminded me there, way back when I was doing my PhD, I remember my PhD supervisor at Sydney University saying to me, Joanna, make sure I was getting married at the time. And she said, always make sure you're financially independent. And I think there's a good message there for women compared to my mum's age, you know, who's now in her mid-70s. She grew up in an era where, you know, the man was the breadwinner and she was and it worked for my parents' marriage. They've had a long, successful marriage, but she really doesn't know anything about the finances. I think one of the strengths of women today is that we're much more in charge of our own finances. We're much more understanding of what the total families, if you're in a relationship with someone else, what the family's finances are. But I think it's a really important message. So no matter what stage of life you're at, you know where your finances stand and you can stand financially independently.
Yeah, it's such good advice, and this book, as we say, is filled with just incredible women. One of my favourites, and I wanted to point her out because she's just fabulous, is Sarah Jane Adams. She's a 63-year-old model, and she is incredibly comfortable in her skin, isn't she, Kelly? Tell us about Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane, I just love Sarah Jane. She became an Instagram sensation overnight at the age of 62 and walked the catwalk for Camilla at 63 and has shot a major campaign for H&M in London. She's got the handle on Instagram, My Wrinkles and My Stripes, and that came about because she was approached in a mall and given some cream to put on her skin, and the woman said, these will disappear your wrinkles overnight. And she said, I don't want to get rid of my wrinkles. My wrinkles are my stripes. They're a badge of honour. They're a mark of who I am and where I've been. And she's just absolutely embraced ageing and she's become a real role model. The majority of her followers actually online are 25 to 35-year-old women. So it had to be in the book.
Oh, she's just fabulous. We've been running some pictures of Sarah Jane there while we've been talking. And just to leave people with, we've already inspired them tonight, I know, but to leave them with something, what are the tips to happiness that most women are consistent about?
Well, I think it's really just finding that confidence in you that because that whole idea of being invisible or disappearing after a certain age, it really does have to do with how you feel about yourself. I mean, the women that I interviewed in the book, from Ronnie Kahn to Helen Clark and Leona Emerson, these are women that stop everybody in the room when they walk in. And so it's just having that sense of confidence in everything that you've done and achieved. That was the biggest tip. But also just Helen Clark said, I don't think anyone ever rolled out the red carpet for me. Find resilience and self-esteem and roll out the red carpet for yourself. So just jump in, boots and all.
Oh, it's absolutely packed full of wonderful wisdom and insights and tips and incredible women that we can all look up to. So well done. And thank you both for coming in tonight. The Power Age.
Thanks for having us.